Hello and welcome to the Tuesday's edition of Political Voice. I am Somto Ajama. There is a lot happening in the political space in Nigeria, but we'll be focusing on two significant topics across the polity today. We'll start with Rivers State PDP crisis. Of course, Wike and Fubara will be involved in this conversation. And then, of course, we're discussing Inec dissolving Julius Abure as Labour Party chairman. But before we get right into the stories, let's take a global overview of happenings around the world. In Africa, the Presidential Debates Committee, PDC, of the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, has announced that the first presidential candidates encounter for the 2024 general election will take place tomorrow, September 28, 2024, at a press conference held at the IEA head office in Accra. Alternate chairman of the PDC, Most Reverend Dr. Paul Kwabena Boafo, revealed that the inaugural evening encounter will feature Nana Kwame Bediako, founder of the New Force movement, and an independent presidential aspirant. The PDC has scheduled 4 additional evening encounters to be held weekly on September 24th, October 1st, 8th, and 15th, although the candidates for these sessions have not yet been confirmed. Criteria for candidate participation include submitting official documentation to the Electoral Commission, launching a manifesto, receiving mission, and a favorable performance in election polls. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen presented her list of 27 Commission members today. Speaking on the new administration's priorities, she said, and I quote, "Last time the topic of global warming was absolutely top," end quote. The list included Francis Stéphane Séjourné as Commissioner for Industrial Strategy, chosen after the abrupt resignation of Thierry Breton yesterday. It also included Italy's former Minister of European Affairs, Rafael Fitto, as Commissioner for Cohesion and Reforms, as well as the Commission's Vice President, despite claims that von der Leyen was uncomfortable with his position in Italy's far-right government. In Nigeria, petroleum marketers are expressing uncertainty over the pricing of premium motor spirit PMS from Dangote Refinery following the Nigerian National Petroleum Company's NNPCL's announcement of new petrol prices. While NNPCL listed retail prices with petrol for 950 naira 22 kobo per litre in Lagos and 999 naira 22 kobo per litre in Abuja, marketers are calling for transparency from Dangote Refinery regarding the actual price it sold petrol to NNPCL. The president of the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association, Billy Gillis-Harry, and the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Abubakar Maigandi, stressed the need for clarity on Dangote's pricing to facilitate purchases by marketers. The controversy stemmed from NNPCL's claim that Dangote Refinery sold petrol at 898 naira per litre, a figure disputed by Dangote Group, though they did not provide the actual price. We'll go on a quick break now, and when we return, we'll delve fully into today's focus. Stay with us. Welcome back to Political Voice. Joining us in the studio today is Mr. Dele Fanimo, a seasoned journalist with over 3 decades of experience. Mr. Fanimo is not only an administrator, but also a respected political affairs commentator and social critic. Good evening, Mr. Fanimo. Thank you once again for joining us.
Good evening.
All right, let's go to the first story. Former PDP National Auditor Ray Naji has criticized the ongoing crisis within the Rivers State chapter of the party. He emphasized that Nyesom Wike, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, is not simultaneously involved with both the PDP and the APC, but is focused on controlling the political future of Rivers State ahead of the 2027 election. Naji questioned the purpose of the Reconciliation Committee's committee that was formed, asking whether it was intended for Wike or the current governor, Siminalayi Fubara. He also expressed doubt that even if Wike damages the PDP, the APC would offer him a safe political home. So this particular subject brings to mind the recent crisis in PDP. Well, recent is a tricky word because this has been in existence since Fubara came into government. But Ray Naji is talking about the fact that the Reconciliation Committee, he's basically questioning, wondering where that's coming from and who it's targeted at. So that will be my first question to you, Mr. Fanimo. Who do you think is the primary objective of this committee? Is the reconciliation effort focused at Wike or at Fubara, or both? Particularly in light of the fact that Wike has said previously that he doesn't want to support Fubara. He will not support Fubara in his political life.
Wike, the enigma. The point is, Wike is somebody that wants to eat his cake and still have it. And it's not peculiar to him. Most governors, when they are exiting their state, they want to plant a lackey that will do their bidding. But most of the time, the so-called lackey, as soon as he gets the position, it turns out to be nemesis for these ex-governors. We have seen several examples. Even in Rivers, Amechi was a PA to Odili in his private hospital. Odili bought form for Amechi to contest in the State House of Assembly. Amechi won a seat in his constituency, and Odili, having won the election of the governorship election and became governor-elect, ensured that Amechi became the speaker of that house. That is to tell you that he was comfortable having his person as the speaker so that he can work hand in hand with the state legislature. But what happened? After 8 years of speakership, Amechi decided to contest and he won, with Odili still feeling that it was that PA he was dealing with. And as soon as he became governor, he ran Odili out of town. Because Odili was dissipating much energy on his presidential ambition. He wanted to succeed Obasanjo. And in the course of that, he lost steam in the state. So by the time he was blooded as presidential aspirant under PDP, there was no haven for him to return to. And Amechi took over. And it was a ding-dong affair, but because Odili was a little bit feeble, so the crisis was not as pronounced as the next thing. Amechi got there, and Wike, who was his chief of staff, was becoming too hot for him. And the only thing he could do was to nominate him as minister, so that he could allow him to do his job in a Port Harcourt, and then he will face his ministerial assignment. And as soon as Wike, as smart as he is, got to Abuja, he found his way and warmed himself into the heart of the First Lady, Patience Jonathan. And he came back stronger than what Amechi was envisaging. He took over the mantle of leadership and he became the governor of Rivers. So you can see the trajectory of godfather, godson, and betrayers. Now, Wike was exiting. He didn't learn from history, and most politicians don't learn from history anyway. He decided to pitch somebody who was his commissioner as governor to succeed him, thinking that he will watch his back. And of course, Fubara got there and he suddenly became a monster. If you watch the build-up to the election in Rivers State, it was Amici that was campaigning, not Fubara. Just like Oshiomhole is campaigning for Ekpobolo.
Ekpobolo, yes.
In Edo State. You can be sure if Ekpobolo becomes the governor of that state, the first person he will take down is Oshiomhole.
Okay, that brings me, thank you for saying that. That brings me to this question, which you've already pointed in your answer previously, that when they get into power, they now want to get rid, or at least cut the strings off themselves and them to prevent them from being played around with. And this is currently the situation, and this is what Naji is referencing, that Wike has an appointment in the FCT, which is currently on and seems to be doing well. So people
very
say,
serious assignment for that matter.
Pretty serious. And hence the question that why does he still feel the need to have a stronghold in Rivers State by way of not giving Fubara means to hold sway in the state as the governor and do what is expected to do as the governor?
Betty Wright in her song said, a child does not grow up to the mother. That's the mantra they want to use. After all, I brought Fubara. I raised him. So why should he stand up against me? Why should he challenge my authority? He has talked about being betrayed. Do you think this is a reflection of that? But the point is, when there's a Yoruba proverb that says, literally being translated would mean that if you give a goat to the masquerade as preparation, you don't just give the goat, even the rope, you hand it over to the masquerade. But Amechi gave out goats to Rivers State, but he wants to hold on to the rope. And Fubara will not agree, even if he wants to. There are people in that government that will say, why would you? After all, this man ran his predecessor, who was supposed to be his benefactor, out of government. So why should you allow him to come and dictate to you? That was the same thing that happened in Edo now, Obaseki and Oshiomhole. And Shaibu as well, giving exactly. The new one. You know, so for me, what one would have expected morally, although there is no morality in politics. Unfortunately. What I would have expected is, it's not as if you don't have anything to do, that you want to come and sit atop Rivers and still have a leg in Abuja. And in another party, I mean, Wike is asking for too much. And morally, he should caution himself. Because it doesn't augur well for the people of Rivers State. Now, Fubara, since he became governor 16 months ago, he has not even settled down to do the proper job of governance. He's running from pillar to post, you know, making political maneuverings, trying to appease, trying to pacify, trying to beg, and trying to be headstrong in some cases. Where does that lead Rivers people? It will get to a point that in the next 6 months or so, we'll be talking about second-term preparation. And so 4 years would have been wasted in the lives of Riverians just because somebody is bringing down the neck of the person they voted for to govern them. And I don't think Rivers deserves this kind of punishment at this time. Talking about that, he mentioned that Wike has an appointment in Abuja and he still wants to have a stronghold within the party, and he seems to be, well, technically one leg in, one leg out. He's insisting that he's saying there is no assurance that if Wike successfully destroys the PDP, the APC will be a comfortable place for him. This is quotes and unquotes what he said. Now, do you think this is Wike's goal, to destroy the PDP and then defect to the APC by, you know, with respect to the backing that he believes he has within that APC? Well, to all intents and purposes, it's clear that Wike is out to run PDP out of town. But is the goal to defect to the APC? Let me tell you, what indices do you need to know that Wike is in APC today? Most decisions in APC are taken with Wike in attendance. So what else do you want Wike to show you that is in APC? Besides, there is no political party in Nigeria. You only have political platforms. So that's why it's easy. What is the defining ideology behind all these parties you see? Either APC, PDP, Labour Party, there is none. LP was for cherry picking. And when the water in PDP was almost roasting Obi, he quickly went for a lukewarm water in LP. And that's why we are talking about LP today. LP was like SDP and all these AAC or
the
whatever.
Smaller opposition parties.
Almost non-existent parties that are just there. They're holding on to...
Let's just say smaller opposition parties.
The point is, you can only wake up these parties when a big fish comes. Most of these parties are comatose. And some of them were created because, as at that time, government was giving subvention to political parties. So, somebody in Edo registered 5 political parties. And so, if he's collecting 5 million naira, he collects 5 million naira in 5 places. That was the agenda then, until government had to stop subvention to parties. And since then, show me a political party apart from these 3 dominant parties that are really making waves among these parties we are talking about. It's just like when Obasanjo gave licenses, people were scampering for licenses for oil drilling and all that. But as soon as the man said, and even refinery, and the man said, okay, the anticipation was that when they get this license, they are going to give them crude to support their refinery that has not yet been built, so that they will be selling the crude and pocketing the proceed. But Obasanjo said, we are not giving you crude until we see your refinery working. And that's why licenses are moribund today. Apart from Dangote, apart from Boa, and a few others with modular refinery. Where are those licenses today?
All right, let's take a step away from that and talk about consequences. You've mentioned the fact
nothing
that
nothing will happen to Wike.
But there was a disciplinary committee set up to discuss these issues and possibly even resolve them. And this is a disciplinary committee set up with Tom McKinney as the head, with the aim, rather.
It can't be a disciplinary committee if it's to reconcile. It must be a reconciliatory committee.
Okay, disciplinary committee.
If you say
there's a reconciliatory committee.
Then if you are the disciplinary committee, it means somebody is going to be found guilty,
which is why
dealt with.
Which is why I'm talking consequences. But according to Wike, he's saying nobody in PDP is coming after him. No governor, no National Working Committee member, nobody. And he's saying this, of course, with conviction, as he says with everything else. So is this a reality? Is this Wike undermining the disciplinary committee, or is this he just knowing that he cannot take them seriously because there's no need?
Where is that person that has the muzzle to challenge Wike in PDP today? Where is that person? So
he's right, after all.
He may not be right, but I'm telling you that who is going to stand up to Wike to challenge him and say, we are punishing you? Show me that person. Is it Makinde that is hand in glove with Wike, that will sit at a meeting where they will decide the fate of Wike?
Okay.
So some of them, they are going to be part of that meeting. Is it Autumn? No, tell me. These are people that were witnesses to when PDP went comatose, and this man gave 50 billion to resuscitate PDP. And the national chairman today is somebody that has a sympathy for Wike. So where are you going to do it in the moon?
Well, he did say he has done a lot for the party. So that
of course, everybody knows that.
That explains the conviction with which he feels.
Yes, everybody knows that. You don't bite the finger that feeds you.
All right. Talking about biting the finger that feeds you, Julius Abure is now no longer recognized as the national chairman of the Labour Party. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has declared that Julius Abure is no longer recognized as the national chairman of the Labour Party. They stated that Abure's term, along with the party's National Working Committee, expired in June 2024, which, of course, is not news. In response to a lawsuit from the Labour Party, which challenged its exclusion from a training for party agents, Inec argued that the party's current leadership is illegitimate. Inec also stated that the March 2024 National Convention, which re-elected Abure, violated the Nigerian Constitution and the Electoral Act. The electoral body emphasized that it only deals with parties that have legitimate leadership. Now, there are a number of ways to look at this particular story from, but you've said this before, and this is the premise for which the Labour Party has instated the caretaker committee, because again, the belief is that Julius Abure's tenure expired in June 10th. But now that INEC has finally recognized this and they're saying he's no longer national chairman, what does this mean for the Labour Party as a whole and Julius Abure's position within the party, if any?
He doesn't even have a position as it stands today. That's one. Two, I remember that I said this, was it 2 days ago or yesterday? I can't remember now. That Abure has been thrown under the bus. What he should have done is to fight for survival, not to hold on to legitimacy over illegitimate tenure. How could you watch, you know your tenure expired 10th of June, and you went to conduct a kangaroo congress in March, which has no stamp of authority, either from Inec, who is supposed to be the one supervising, and even the big wigs in the political party. So they went ahead, held meeting, raised a caretaker, 29-member caretaker committee, and you are still holding on to a weak straw. So for me, I don't even know whatever or whoever gave this man that lever to want to challenge the whole behemoth of big shots in that party with feeble voices behind you.
That's a question I was actually going to ask. That why does he seem so dogged on the fact that he wants to stay leader?
He will be dogged because an average politician is an incurable optimist. Even when they are drowning, they are still listening to that inner voice that says, even I can still survive. I can still hold my head. That's what they do. Because if Abure was rational enough in his thinking, the way things are going, he shouldn't have wasted his energy, dissipated his energy towards trying to catch a moving train that has left the station. The train left the station the day pronouncement was made on the 29-member caretaker committee, which is to midwife a national convention that will produce another set of leadership for the party. So what is he holding on to? Constitution. The law is made for man and not man for the law. So he should know that this is something that he cannot help. And whoever is nudging him, encouraging him, pushing him, he should tell that person, look, I want to have my peace. I want to remain in that party. Mm-hmm. And if that party is not good enough, if the water is too hot for him, let me see if I can ply my trade in another political party. Abure, if the stature of Labour Party had been this strong, Abure would not have been a chairman of that party.
In the first place?
In the first place. That I can assure you. Just like in some of these political parties that were registered, some of them, the national chairman of the party is the presidential candidate of the party. And is even the treasurer of the party. And that was what was playing out in the Labour Party before Peter Obi came to cherry pick Labour Party. If Peter Obi had taken a party like SDP Labour Party would have still been comatose. After all, Mimiko cherry-picked Labour Party just as a vehicle. That's why I said there's no political party in Nigeria. All you have is platform.
And political interest.
Of course, when you have political platform, you have political interest. So Mimiko knew PDP was too hot for him. They were not ready to give him the ticket. So he had to look for another means. And the soft landing he could get was from LP because of the Labour influence in the Labour Party. And so Abure, from one indication, was not a Labour activist of repute. So on what pedestal is he standing? He doesn't have that muscle to call out the Labour movement to support him in Labour Party. He doesn't have the backing of the politicians that are in Labour Party. So where is he deriving his power from?
So that's a good question. You're asking where is he deriving his power from? This is the same person, because by asking that question, you're inferring that he doesn't have power.
He doesn't have.
Exactly. So my next question would be, you recall that Abure made that announcement withdrawing automatic candidacy from Peter Obi for the presidency and Alex Otti for the governorship. So for somebody who doesn't have power, how much weight does that announcement or does that proclamation, so to speak, carry? That's one. And the fact that Inec has said he's not recognized as the party chair, where does that stand? Does that mean anything at this point? And is that statement practically withdrawn?
You see, by that statement, Abure overreached himself by that statement. And that is why it's just like you go to the park just because zoo or park or forest, just because you see that the tiger is lying there and you now pull the tiger by the tail. You are only looking for trouble. I remember there is this title, James Ali Chase title, Tiger by the Tail. Once you put the tiger by the tail, whatever trouble you get, you have to live with it. Because you are only cutting trouble by telling somebody of Peter Obi's stature that you are not going to give him ticket. Who are you?
To be fair, he did say that he can contest if he wants.
Who are you? What pedestal are you standing on? The fact that you are made the chairman of the party, do you know that in some offices, a messenger can be powerful than the general manager, depending on where the power is drawn from? If the chairman of a company is more amenable to the messenger will be powerful than the GM. The GM will just be answering. So, but a sensible GM will know that, look, I'm just a general manager on paper, but that messenger has the listening ear of the chairman, and he will behave himself. So who is Abure to want to demean the stature of a Peter Obi or a sitting governor like Alex Otti? So he's the one that caught trouble and is getting it. So if he's being roasted, I don't have sympathy for him.
All right, so Inec talking about the fact that the party's current leadership is illegitimate. Where does the Labour Party stand when it comes to elections, when it comes to the future of the party as it pertains to politics in general at the moment?
Labour Party will reinvent itself, I can assure you. It will reinvent itself. Don't forget that the caretaker committee is not an absolute committee in itself. It's just covering the interregnum between now and when a proper administrative committee, national working committee, national executive committee would have been set up. So, for now, the fact that Inec says Abure's faction is no longer recognized and has given legitimacy to the caretaker committee. So if perhaps there is any election that is going to hold it is the caretaker committee that would midwife that process. And since INEC has given legitimacy, then they can go ahead and do what they want to do.
Will this be just in time for the 2027 elections or way before the 2027 elections? Because again, a lot of this, particularly the fact that INEC is in the mix now, the fact that INEC has joined this conversation just adds a lot of, well, for lack of a better expression, fuel to the fire at the moment. So now that INEC is involved, is this a trigger or additional pressure for the caretaker committee to kickstart, that's the word, the leadership so that the LP can be viable again when it comes to elections?
You see, politicians have a way of reinventing themselves. I can tell you, Labour Party must be working tirelessly now to make sure that their choice of candidates to fill these vacant positions that will be declared shortly by the CTC are candidates that would be acceptable to the hierarchy of the party. And I'm sure they will have a rancor-free election because the only crisis they have has been put behind them. And INEC has also assisted them to put such behind them. So there won't be any much problem for them to take care of all these teething problems because the goal is 2027.
Of course, in view.
Yeah, so the only thing is they will struggle, make sure that they have a cohesive party that will not have to take them through bumpy ride to the presidency. And I'm sure they will be doing it now. It may not be to the knowledge of the public.
Of course, until things are finalized.
Yes, so.
But let me take you back to the subject of Abure. I'm not sure if it's something you like talking about, but it's something we have to discuss.
Abure is gone and gone for good.
So you say, and according to INEC, so it is. But INEC argues that the Labour Party's March 2024 National Convention, which re-elected Abure, violated the Nigerian Constitution and the Electoral Act. Now, this had been an issue since March when this convention happened at the time. There was a lot of back and forth about the legitimacy of this convention in the first place and whether the action that was taken was, again, legitimate, if this means that Abure remains chair at the time. But now that INEC has said what it has said, does this prove that that March convention was illegitimate and shouldn't have happened in the first place?
You see, as a layman, I may not have all the ingredients to really drive home the point that that convention was illegitimate. But I'm sure that INEC, as an umpire, would have studied the constitution of Labour Party. They would have studied the Electoral Act and pinpoint areas where that convention didn't meet up to the tenets of the law governing such convention. And if they are coming out to say that that convention was illegal, and once they say it is illegal, that means the vehicle had been grounded. It cannot move Abure further. And so it's either Abure disembark from the car or negotiate his exit. So it is clear INEC has said it, and the only thing Abure can do is to go and challenge it in court.
Which well, not exactly for this reason, but you'd recall that I previously talked about a lawsuit. And so now that INEC has said he's no longer chair, is the lawsuit still something that should concern the Labour Party at this point? Because again, if INEC has said we don't recognize you, at least, is that still something worth fighting for and something that will be recognized by the individuals in the party?
Let him. The point is, when you are praying that you don't have problems, lawyers are praying that they want good job. So either way, if God wants to answer prayers, He will protect you from having trouble. But there are some people that can't do without trouble. And those ones will be encouraged to do trouble so that the lawyer can feed the family. So if Abure is still intent and bent on going to court, let him go. There are sons who need that money to
But
take
this
care
is
of their
not,
family.
I understand that, but this is not in any way the concern. Do you think the party should be concerned about this?
Why should the party be worried about whatever he says? He cannot be bigger than the party. Even if he wins the suit, well, can he win the heart of party members that have turned against him? If if he stretches his luck, these people can just abandon the broken down vehicle and jump into another vehicle. It's still platform. STB is there, AAC is there, AA is there, Action Alliance is there, and all that. So they have other political parties to cherry pick from. So it's not going to be a problem. The constant thing is everybody is rooting for Peter Obi, and Peter Obi is bigger than Abure. And so, if Peter Obi feels that Abure is a pain in the neck, all he needs to talk to his team. It's like this river cannot take a shark.
But let me ask you this. If Abure's lawsuit holds any weight at all, and the court takes it seriously and probably even rules in his favor, which would be at the expense of the individuals in the Labour Party who don't want him, does that now force Inec to re-recognize him as the leader, and won't that cause additional internal party crisis in the party?
Of course, the Inec is an institution of government, it's an agency of government, and if somebody wins in the court of law, it is binding on Inec once it is served. You understand? But the point is, I'm telling you, you can win a battle and you will not win the war.
All right, talking about winning the battle and possibly not winning the war, well, Abure at this point has faulted claims by stakeholders, appointed interim national chairperson of the party, that's Senator Nanadi Usman, that her committee saved the Labour Party from being deregistered by Inec. According to him, the statement issued by Usman, a card-carrying member of the PDP, wherein she claimed that the quick intervention of some leaders of the party at the September 4th stakeholders meeting in Umuahia saved the party from being deregistered. What do you have to say about this? Because again, Nanadi Usman comes into play here, and this again blindsides, or at least puts to the side, the stance of Julius Abure, or stand of Julius Abure within this party. So does this mean that Nanadi Usman rather, well, like it or not, according to what they're saying, saved the Labour Party, and it's setting them on a path to INEC recognizing them as a party viable for elections?
It wasn't Nanadi Usman that saved Labour Party from being deregistered. It is the emergence of Nanadi Usman's 29-member committee that saved the party. So individually, Nanadi Usman had no strength to save the party.
Of course.
You understand?
Okay.
So that's just by the way. Again, the timely intervention. You see, these politicians, they are very smart. They know that if that meeting didn't hold in Umuahia, where this committee was brought to fall, there will be crisis in Labour Party. And so it's a way of dousing tension and making sure that the boat is not rocked by the provisions of the Electoral Act, which says there shouldn't be vacuum. You understand? If they had allowed that vacuum to exist by now, Labour Party would have been deregistered. And they also know by the timetable and the structures of the party. So there was no way they would just fold their hands and watch things go awry. And then you now begin to run from pillar to post to make sure that this party is registered back, and then you use it. You see, the interesting thing is the Labour Party is a place where a lot of people want to be because of the candidate in the last election. So nobody wants that party to go under. And they will do everything to make sure that the party does not go under.
So I'm going to wrap up with that, take a cue from what you just said. Peter Obi at the moment is still the face of the Labour Party.
Yes.
At the moment. And though we say that the party is bigger than the candidate, but in this case, does it pose like the candidate is bigger than the party?
I tell you, Peter Obi is bigger than Labour Party. Take away Peter Obi from Labour Party, what do you have left?
So what does this mean for the political strategy of Labour Party as a party? And how it affects Peter Obi, obviously?
You see, for me, what they need to do is to build a strong system around that candidate, rather than dissipate energy on all these. Beautiful idea that they said they should raise 1,000 in that party. What that tells you, it was not novel. It wasn't novel. Action Group did it. NCNC did it over 50 years ago.
Exactly, because I was going to say a lot of people on the internet did not know that information.
They did that market women were card-carrying members of Action Group. Artisans were card-carrying members of Action Group. They pay certain dues, either monthly or bi-monthly or quarterly. So they assume the role of owning the party collectively. And that's why Awolowo would seek the opinion of his kitchen cabinet and then tell them to go and sample the opinion of people on the street, especially the card-carrying members, before policies are made. And that's why they have watertight policies that is not easy to dismantle. Look at the education policy, look at the rural integration policy, look at I think the 4 cardinal points of the Action Group that also was brought into UPN when UPN came. So these are things that makes a party a solid ideological political party, not just putting somebody waiting for a big fish to come and cherry pick your party, and then you start running with it, and then you become a big shot. And as soon as that person loses election, you come back to your comatose state.
Well, thank you very much for saying that, Mr. Fanimo. To a large extent, one is not sure whether the Labour Party will end up in this state, as you've talked about, given that the big face you keep referring to, right, at the moment at least, is still Peter Obi. But the general hope...
They shouldn't allow Peter Obi to leave that party because that party will sink.
That's where I was going, the party, so that the party can be the opposition that people have perceived it to be, particularly in view of the 2027 election. But that is all that we can take on today's episode on Political Voice. Thank you once again, Mr. Fanimo, for joining us.
Always my pleasure.
And remember to follow us across all our social media platforms at VOPTV Live. Political Voice makes a return again tomorrow. My name is Somto Ajamma. Good evening.